So, hello everyone. Before we start our presentation, we have a little introduction video that we wanted to show you. That it's already on our YouTube channel, and it's also a reminder of our project purpose.
Hi, I'm Trudy, the best part of what you can call the Group 11. Yes, the members, if you can call them that. Daniela, she's really good at organizing information, always has a joke to tell, mostly bad ones. Liegna, really chaotic, has a pretty skills and is pretty creative when he sleeps enough. Mafalda, basically my mom, wouldn't be a lot of fooling for her. She makes sure the group works. How she tries. And Panish. I once lived in her house. It was wild. She always saves us and is great with technology. Nothing much.
You're probably asking, well, what even is this channel for? Well, this is actually all part of a project developed by the people I just introduced to you.
A high school project, to be exact, for a DAC called CLT. Our project is about sustainable agriculture in a more experimental way, and it combines biology and physics. Of course, I also am a part of this project, the main character if you ask me, since I am responsible for the compost.
So, we're Group 11, as you already know, and in this semester we decided to continue our project from last semester, so we call it Sustainable Agriculture, the sequel. Here is our index, where we left off in previous semester, our plans, preparations, the process, and of course the result. So, where we left off, you probably don't remember, so I'm going to fill you in. In our first presentation, we focused on the theoretical part of our project, where each one of us addressed a topic related to sustainable agriculture. And we also started our own vermicompost, and we have a little sample that we're going to give it to you so that you can see it while we continue our presentation. Yeah, the teachers go. So, with all the theory in our minds, we started this semester by applying that knowledge. These were our initial plans. First, we wanted to build a vegetable bed, then to use our compost as a fertilizer for the vegetables, planting 3 different types of vegetables, and finally to set up a watering system powered by solar energy.
So this was a problematic topic for a while. This is the initial sketch of what we intended to construct. It's kind of a little greenhouse with a glass roof on the top where the solar panel will be. This idea is way fancier that we ended up doing, but we started from there and actually decided that the roof was not needed at all. And one of the most important parts, the day our vegetable bed was brought to life with a major help from my dad. That basically did all the hard work since it couldn't be other way because it was too dangerous for us.
So, okay, imagine that there's a video playing. So, first we cutted the pieces of wood to match the measures that we needed, 60 per 40 per 25 centimeters, and glued them together. Here it is. And after this, we also added some screws for extra sturdiness.
By we mean my dad. Fortunately, someone had the brilliant idea of adding 2 handles, since without them it will be way more difficult of transporting it. We also did a support for both the reservoir and the solar panel, which I can show you very well, but it kind of looks like a shoe, and we actually call it o sapatinho.
To finish our masterpiece, we varnished it to avoid rotting and for it to look aesthetically pleasing. Yeah. Now let's talk about compost. Our initial plan was to use our own vermicompost as fertilizer for the vegetable bed, but this is not possible and I will explain why. So, first off, we did not have nearly enough compost for the final size of our vegetable bed. To put it into perspective, the capacity of the vegetable bed is 60 liters. For the soil mix, we would need 1/5 of compost and 4/5 of our native soil. So that would round up to about 12 liters of compost. If you look inside the vermicompost,
The vermicompost, you could see that we don't actually have that much. We severely overestimated the compost that we could get in 5 months with the number of forms that we had initially. I can really show you, but you can see that it's not even full.
so 12 liters, just so you can visualize it better, it's 2 water jugs, dois garrafões. So we had to find a solution for this compost shortage. If you remember from our last presentation, I actually talked about anaerobic digestion and how Tratolish actually had an anaerobic digestion facility. So what's a better solution than to call up Tratolish and ask them if they could give us some of that compost? So after a bit of back and forth with the contacts, we went to their facility in Mafra. Here we are going there. When we got there, we had to put on some safety gear, and we were met by an engineer that took us on a little tour of the place and also explained to us how the compost was made. Sadly, when we were inside, we weren't really allowed to film that much since the atmosphere of the place could damage our phones, but we did manage to sneak in a little picture of the explanation of how the compost was made. All was going fine and dandy until we were actually going to the car and talking with the engineer, and she told us that the compost was not suitable to use in growing produce meant for consumption. And so our plan B was scratched again. We weren't able to use it for growing produce meant for consumption because it comes from undifferentiated waste, and that could have toxins in it that would be bad for us if we consumed it. So we decided to take the compost with us anyways and think of a solution later. After a bit of brainstorming, we decided to plant a pollinator garden.
And you might be asking, what is a pollinator garden? Well, we actually already have a video on YouTube that explains the concept, but in case you haven't seen it, it is a garden curated to attract and house various pollinators.
Protecting pollinators has become a bigger necessity as time goes on, since many are at risk of extinction. According to Exercise Society for Invertebrate Conservation, nearly 85% of the world's flowering plants depend upon pollinators to reproduce. The fruit, seeds, and livestock feed produced by pollinators provides over 30% of the food we consume. This only comes to show how important it is to preserve these species and this biodiversity.
And as many of you may know, we actually planted a small pollinator garden at the school entrance, and we did this with a lot of help from Sr. Costa and our lovely volunteers. We asked for help in our Instagram account and from our classmates, and we got the plant. Actually, here you can see the compost from Tratolish, and if you look closely, you could see little pieces of plastic and other small things.
So here we use the compost straight away, and as you can see, our volunteers. We also had the great company of the school dog, so we planted flowers with root and without root, and in the end, the flowers without a root established, actually none of them survived. Here we have these sticks that serve as a bed frame, not only to define the garden better, but also to make it a little bit more pretty. So here we are starting to plant. We had 3 plants that we bought with root, and these all survived and thrived, but then the other flowers all dried up. But Sr. Costa also planted some of his own flowers, and in the end, the garden looked very nice, as you can see. This is how the garden looks now. And as you can see, all the flowers thrived, and we have some more in the back that Mr. Costa added. And then one day we also saw
We also saw a bee in our lavender, which made us very happy because it only meant that the pollinator garden was doing its job. You can't see the video, but the bee is here.
University professor Mariana Mota helped the test the conditions of the soil at the school. He tried to sift the soil, but that didn't work, so we just used it for the experiment. From the photos, we can conclude that the school soil presents a lot of organic matter, a considerable amount of limestone, and the pH within the normal parameters.
And here you have another sketch. This is the initial way we plan to plant our vegetables. This arrangement was the one that Professor Mariana Mota from ISA gave us and thought was the best for us. And this is the path we try to follow. You have here three lettuces on each side, 2 lines of radishes, and 2 cherry tomatoes on the middle. Then, after all that planning, by the middle of February, we got to plant the lettuces and the cherry tomatoes so that they could germinate before we put them into the vegetable bed. Then, a week later, we were very excited to see the results since the plants had grown a lot and seemed great overall. They actually weren't that big. If you look at the photo, and in reality they weren't that big. But for that time, it really amazed us.
So also in February, we noticed that the lettuce kept growing upwards, probably indicating it wasn't receiving enough light. And we also spotted a tiny mushroom. I don't know if you can see it, but it's right here. In March, we transplanted 6 of the lettuces to our vegetable beds, and on the exact same day, we planted radish from seeds, and this is them a week later. This was when the things started to go south for us. After a week of intense sun, all our tomato plants died. Like, no one survived, so we had to change our plans again.
Also, during this time in April, we noticed that the lettuces on this side of the vegetable bed here were not looking very good, probably due to lack of light again, because the light in the lab where the vegetable bed was, the sun came from here, and this wall of the vegetable bed actually shaded inside, so the lettuces were not developing well enough. So the solution that we found for this was to make a little step out of soil so that the lettuce could be higher up and receive enough light.
A few days later, the lettuce didn't grow as we expected. They started to look pale, so we decided to take some sprouts from the vegetable beds and planted them in pots individually to see if there was any significant differences, but there wasn't any difference. The lettuces just didn't like us and didn't grow anyways.
They're there, so you can peek.
Yeah, right there.
Lottery system. In this part of the physics, I will address about the routing of the connections of the solar panel and the intermediate calculations performed. Here is a table that allows us to know the angle of inclination to the solar panel, depending only the season and the latitude. This is a label of our solar panel. The material of your solar panel is polycrystalline silicon. Its main advantage comes from is a low cost of production, and the disadvantage is efficiency. To calculate the efficiency, we only require the width and the height of solar panel. We know from the label that the power is 2.5 watts. The first step calculate the panel's area. The second, we will calculate the radiance, and finally divide by time. With this, conclude that our solar panel is not efficient, 10.9%. I will now be talking about our irrigation system. But first, the intermediate calculations performed. And this is a label of water pump. In the slide, we are calculating the area of the section of the tube, so we can then use that area in the continuous equation. By doing this, we will be able to connect the velocity of the fluid flowing through that section of the tube. The second part, we are doing basically the same thing, but now we are first calculating the area of the holes we made. Then, once again, we are using it to be able to know what's the velocity of the water flowing through the holes, which according to the continuity equation, we know it will be much greater than the last one, as with a smaller area, a greater velocity. According to the equation, the speed of the water with the holes, it's 8.8 meters per second.
So we can conclude that all of the calculus was made assuming the pump is at the same height as the rest of the hose, and more importantly that we are working with an ideal fluid. This means the viscosity of the fluid is 0 and that there are no vortex, thus creating a laminar flow.
We are using these materials, the solar panel, water pumping battery 9 volts, Arduino Uno, model drive, and then Bluetooth module.
We wanted something new. We wanted something that could combine physics and sustainable agriculture. So we decided to use a Bluetooth-induced irrigation system. So here you can see it working. In the end of the presentation, we will do a little demonstration of how it actually works with. Here are some of the other things we did during this semester. So, as many of you know, we went on a field trip to Pisa. Actually, Professor Mariana Monta helped us a lot with this project, and we were very happy to be able to go there and visit her in person. When we got to the campus, she showed us around and also gave us a more insightful look inside the agronomy experience. Here's some more pictures.
And here is our site that is already done and will soon be available so that you can see it in more detail. Now our social media. I guess most of you must be very familiar with it, since by the end of the first semester, around the start of January, we uploaded the video that you saw in our last presentation, the vermicompost journey video. And after creating the YouTube channel to upload it, we thought of doing something more. This time an Instagram account with the objective of posting some biology and physics content while updating how our journey was going, plus some photos and some fun videos. We currently have 5 videos uploaded on YouTube, but there will be 6 with one that we're going to show you now, and after that one we'll be doing the Kahoot.
So here is a little video of some fun moments throughout this whole year, just so we can reminisce and also show you around more of the fun parts of this project.
Essa.
Não sei que tem que ter medo. ASMR. Vai que se não colar, mano, eu tô com a mão.
Já tá tudo a gente. Tá?
Não, sim, eu hoje não vou dar agora as aulas mal de saber, mas como eu tenho aqui aula, talvez tenha que sair a sala cheia de
Quem fica com a amostra? Não? Não estás a conseguir por um número?
no inglês.
Enquanto o outro preparar as coisas, nós vamos fazer a demonstração. Quem quiser ver.
Não sou vocês. Podem preparar os
Sempre tem. Opção?
Não sei se vocês querem.
Não tens nada a fazer. Aqui embaixo.
Tens aqui o telemóvel da...
Ah, eu não vi. Ah, já disse. Ah, agora já está conectado aqui. Não, se bem que eu acho que não. Não, esse aqui já está desconectado. Pronto. Só clicar. Que a bicha. Ah, é verdade.
Não falta a pilha.
Não, falta conectar.